Okay, what I've decided to do here today is I'm going to go ahead and convert this rehab cost analyzer that DeAndre, one of my investor clients, has created. This rehab cost analyzer breaks out the cost to rehab a particular property. What he wants to do is get something in a form that he can show his contractor without giving him extra lines like these zeros here, unless they're appropriate. Miscellaneous could be appropriate because that would allow the contractor to add things in. But we want to put right now, you can tell it's in the profit calculator. We want to take it out of the profit calculator and we want to change the format so we're not including things like the hours and the estimates. We're going to do that later, but when we only want the contractor to see everything that's in the green here. We don't necessarily want him to see the estimated hours, the days, and the sequence. Now, at some point, we may develop a relationship with our contractors so we can ask them to enter the estimated hours or the days that this job will span. And we can ask them to enter the sequence. In fact, I'm going to pause the recording right now, and I'm going to show you what one contractor has submitted to one of my clients. Hang on a second. So here is a kind of a scope of work, isn't it? I like to see a little bit more detail, but this is surprisingly has more detail than most. I would like to see the price in here. We ought to invent a new column for price. And of course, that's what the rehab cost analyzer does. But this allows the items to be worked on is here. The description of the items to be done is here. And then the number of days or weeks required to complete the task is there. Then I invited this contractor to put in a date, a begin date and a date end. And by entering those two dates, then we could put down, he could each week submit what percentage was completed of the work and then put an X here when the job is done. So this way the contractor can send a report to the developer as to what's going on. So you can see the basic ideas. Here's the description here, and here is the number of days or weeks or that the job is to be done. This does not establish sequence, particularly. I could invent a column here for sequence as well. So that would allow the, I should invent a column for sequence and for project or for area or room. And that would allow me to sort by room to know what needs to be done in each room. And it would allow me to sort by sequence to know what's going to be done first in each room or in the whole job. But this at least gives me an idea of telling me how long it's going to take to get that job done so that I can put this into a Gantt chart. For those of you who don't know what a Gantt chart looks like, there's a sample in the profit calculator. The Gantt chart looks like this. This is the scope of work listed down here. And then you see here are the number of days, like this job here, repair, replace roof and fascia, that's going to take a whole week, right? And then while that's going on, some guys down below are going to be working on windows for a couple days. And while the guys are working on windows for a couple of days, there's going to be demo going on inside the house while the roof is being worked on and while the windows are being replaced. Now, see, this is pretty cool because it allows work to be done simultaneously. Most contractors don't like to do this. Most contractors like to do things one thing after the other. But when you set up a Gantt chart like this, or when you set up a schedule like this is the rudimentary part, you can actually say, hey, these things can be done together. Why not do them together? And therefore, the begin date for this item, the begin date for this item, the begin date for this item, you know, there might be 3 or 4 items that would have the same begin date. And of course, they would be reflected right here. Here are 3 items with the same begin date right here. Replace the roof and fascia, replace the windows, and start the demo inside the property. And the same thing occurs over here because what we have here is we have the refinishing the kitchen cabinets starts on Thursday, starts on Friday and goes through Monday because we're going to say they're off for the weekend. And then, but also on Friday starts replacing the doors. And then on Monday, while the cabinets are being done, the minute somebody's going to install the baseboard. You get it? So things can be done simultaneously. And on this particular day, we've got the, because there's a merge field right here, it tends to open things up. So I'm going to unmerge that field. So now, so this particular day right here, we've got three things going on this day. We've got rehabbing the kitchen cabinets and putting in the baseboard and glazing the bathtub. You see? Now this is just arbitrary and this is set up for an example. But here's another example of where work is done simultaneously. Most contractors don't want to do that. And if you want to compress your job down from 3 months down to 6 weeks, this is the way you do it, is by determining what work can be done simultaneously. And in order to do this, we might have to take these contractors, both of our contractors, and suggest that we bring in new subs. This is why in all of my contracts with all of my contractors, I say, do I have permission to bring in subs? And usually most contractors will say, yeah, well, my nephew does the plumbing and my uncle does the painting, and so I want to use them. But if you have anybody else who can stay in sequence to quality, to code, on time and on budget, and achieve the objectives of the project, then go ahead and bring them in. And by bringing in those subs, we can now start moving things around and maybe even start some of this work back over here under this week, and we could take a whole week off the job by moving certain things around. So you get it? That's why we want to see what weeks and times and duration, and that's why on the rehab cost analyzer, I have a place here for you to estimate and talk with each contractor to estimate the number of hours and the number of days that that particular job is going to span. For example, sheetrock may only take 9 hours, but it'll take 3 hours a day every other day, right? Because after they throw up the sheetrock, they've got a tape, right? And you can't start painting until the tape has been resolved and until it's been applied and then dried and then sanded and then applied again and dried and sanded, depending on your process. But if you're going to get a smooth wall, it'll take a period of time. So that's what these are all about. So what we're not worrying about that. What we're worrying about right now is I want to show my contractor a bid where I've broken the project out into the dirty dozen. The roofing, the exterior paint, the interior paint, the landscaping, the windows, the doors, the electrical, the HVAC. You see every one of those dark green headings, including the kitchen, right? And now including bathroom number 1 and bathroom number 2, which as long as we have enough guys on the crew, we could work on both bathrooms simultaneously. And probably we should. One crew should do one bathroom and one crew should do the other bathroom, as long as they're maintaining code and as long as they're maintaining quality. Here's flooring. So these are the dirty dozen, right? And that's why this little breakout can be very, very helpful. Now, that being said, I have a printout here in black and white already done. And by the way, I've introduced some of the other columns. Remember, I told you could sort it by room or by task, and therefore you could know everything that needs to be done in a particular room, but you could also now know everything that needs to be done by the electrician or whatever. So there are a couple other columns here that can be confusing. And but this is all broken out in black and white format, so it can be easily printed. What I think you need to do is take your rehab cost analyzer, where you've got your prices for this particular job plugged into your rehab cost analyzer, and this is what you want to give to your contractor whenever you can. So what I've decided to do and what I volunteered to do was to separate this from the calculator and reformat it so that the contractor would give me a bid back in the format that I like. Got it? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take that tab right there. I'm going to right click on that. I'm going to say move or copy. I'm going to click down here where it says copy. And then I'm going to come up here where it says to book. Which book would it like me in? Would it like me to create a copy of that spreadsheet within this Excel file, or would it like me to go into a different file? And I want to create it into a new book. So I'm going to create a copy and put it into a new book. So that means it'll stand alone in another book. Now, caution, if I come back and change the rehab cost calculator, the rehab cost analyzer in the profit calculator, I've got to physically make those same changes in my copy because they're not linked. They will not be linked. Now, there's a way to link them, but it gets really complicated. not in terms of linking them. Linking them is easy, but in terms of maintaining the links and knowing what's going on, that's a little bit of a complicated process. It takes its own learning curve, and you're much better off probably just to make the changes manually, most likely. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a copy right here, create a copy, and I'm going to put it into a new book. And there I go, I hit that. And so now I have the Rehab Cost Analyzer over here in book number 1. And if I come back to my Rehab Cost Analyzer over here, there's my profit calculator, and there's my Rehab Cost Analyzer. It's now here, and it's now here in book 1. Okay, good. Now I'm going to make changes on it to make sure that it prints in book 1. First thing I'm going to do is I'm probably going to eliminate all of these columns over here because they really don't pertain. Oh, look. The reason why that happened is because there are merged files. Let me see. See, as soon as I go over there, it wants to merge. So I've got to go down here and find out where the merged files are. And it's probably up here. No, not there. That's interesting. So I'm looking for when to see this little square there that I'm moving up and down wants to expand, and I think it's probably going to be towards the bottom. That's interesting. Oh, there we go. There it is right there. You see that? I'm one cell right there, but here I've gotten lost, and you can tell this cursor right now is in cell K228. See that? And when I drop down here, it's now in G222. It's moved over here to G222. So if I, so right here, you see that whole thing is one cell. That's the merged cell. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unmerge all that. Okay, good. Now, now it's all in individual cells, and now I'm pretty sure that unless I've got it screwed up, unless there's something else going on, I'm going to go Control Home. Now I'm going to be able to come down here and I'm holding my Shift down, and I'm going to come all the way down, Shift down arrow, and that's going to bring me to the bottom. Good, it does. I'm going to go to the right and go to the right. Now I'm going to delete those columns because I don't want them to appear on this printout. Now, I could save them for later on, in which case I don't want to delete them, I want to hide them. So I'll come over here and go hide. Let me think here. Insert filter, hyperlink. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, I know what's going on. I need to hide. I just turned off my sharing by accident. I apologize. I need to hide the whole row at a time. So here we go. Here we go. And now I can click and say hide. Well, I'm thinking about throwing away this this video because why isn't that hiding? Well, let me just say this. There's a way to hide those. And I'm just not discovering it right now. Let me just try one of these and see if I can. Maybe it's up here. Yeah, there it is. It's under hide right there. So I'm going to come over here, and now I'm going to click up here, go right click, and there it is, hide. Wonderful. Why didn't that happen down below here? Oh, look, there it is all along. Bam, I just hit it. Okay, now if I ever want those to reappear, I can click right up here, and I can right in there, and I can go unhide, and blam, unhide, and it's supposed to show up. Okay, so I'm going to have to do it this way. I'm going to now, I want to unhide all of the columns between those two columns. There we go. Okay, so I don't know why I missed that before. Some of you guys were saying, oh, it's right there, Steve. What's wrong with you? So there we go. So hide. So now I've got those hidden. I think I'm going to unhide them for a minute because what I want to do is get this thing ready for a format for a print job. So now I just hit Control Home and I came up here. Okay, I've got the property address. And the problem is when I go into print mode here, let me show you. And I'm going to go do this print area. So what's happening is that everything in the solid blue line here is in print mode. So this this property address should appear. So I'm hitting Control P. I could go up to File and say Print, but here's my Control P, and look, there's the property address. And now, depending on how this printer is set up, this is staying at the top of each page, which is exactly what I want it to do. And that's the way I designed the Rehab Cost Analyzer, so that it would do that, maintain its integrity as I go through to print each page. So you see I'm clicking down here in the elevator, and I'm moving down these rows, and now I'm going to click up here and move them up. But the heading is staying on the top of each one. That's good, so I know which property address it is. Now I can also adjust how I want these things to show up. Let me show you. By going to this mode here, every place there's a dark blue line is where the print border is. So the print border is going to be here. Well, I don't want that to break there. I want to move that up to there. And so now I'm going to have landscaping all on one section. You see what I just did? Let me make that a little bit bigger. I'm going to undo. So that moved my dark blue line back down to here. Control Z is an undo. And now I'm going to go ahead over here under zoom, and I'm going to make these bigger. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. See the blue line on the outside on the far right, but now I'm going to go down through it. Because I'm in this page break view showing right here, see where it says page break view right there? I've clicked on that button, I'm in page break view. Normally when we see these, we're in normal view. This little button right here is normal view. This looks normal, right? But when I go into page break view, it does a couple things. Number one, it makes a solid blue line everywhere there's a page break, and it also does a watermark showing which page number I'm on. A lot of people say that watermark drives me crazy. I've gotten quite used to it over the years. Now look, here's where the page break is. If I want landscaping to be on its own page, I move it to there. Now when I go into my print preview, Control P, print preview, notice that my roofing comes down here, the interior paint stops there, and I have to go to the next page before landscaping starts. But now landscaping is all on one page. So learning how to set this up with page breaks is really important, okay? Now I'm going to hit escape and come out of print view. I'm also going to, I want to see where the normal page break would be. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to go insert. I'm going to look for page break. No, please be there. See, I have my shortcuts that I use. And maybe we have to go to page layout. There we are. We go to page layout and there's page break. See that? It's page breaks. So what I'm going to do is click on that, and when I do, remove page break. Now the page break is gone, and so I'm looking for where that page break is going to be. So we're still in page 1, and where will it be? Now I'm at page 2 because there's the watermark. I'm looking, there it is. There's the dotted line right there. So that dotted line is the default page break. So I could move that up to there, and now landscaping would stay on the first page, the way this is, okay? Landscaping will now stay on the first page. Let's check it out. I go into print preview by hitting Control P, and now there's landscaping on that first page. And because there's enough room on that page for landscaping, that's really cool. Then I come down to the second page, and now it starts with windows, and then it ends with electrical. And why does it end with electrical? Because there's a hard page break after electrical. Watch, I'll move down and we're gonna see, there's my windows after landscape. And now look, there's a hard page break right there. So if I come back here, I click in that cell right there, come up here into page layout and click on breaks and then say remove page break. Now that default is gonna be down here somewhere. There it is. And now it's going to cut in the middle of the HVAC. I don't want that to happen, so I just simply grab that and I move it up. And now it becomes a solid blue line at the top of HVAC. And now I can take a look at this. So now landscaping is on the first page. And now on the second page, electrical is included on the second page. You see that? That's how to adjust the pages for the print job so that you don't have a section. Here's HVAC all in its own section, a big section. So that's how you set up page breaks. So very, very cool. So what I'm going to do is I want this to be here, but I don't want it to be in color, because when it's in color, it screws up my printing. I use a lot of color ink, and I don't want to use color ink. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take that white ink right there. See, it's white, and I'm going to make it black. Let me show you what I did again. I clicked on property address, and then I'm going to go across, all the way across. I'm holding down the shift key. I'm right-clicking over, and all of that white ink, I'm going to make it black, okay? So right now, there you see it says it's white. I'm going to make it black, and now that's all black ink. And now what I'm going to do is remove the color. And so the background color. So here we go. Let's remove all of the background color all at once, shall we? So I'm going to come up here. I'm going to go to page layout. That's not page layout. I'm going to go to home. And now I'm going to find out where the page layout is, where's the color. I'm trying to do it too cool, but that's okay. Review, data, formulas. It's wonderful when I screw around like this, huh? Here's view. We notice we're in page break view right here. And I'm looking for my colors. And I guess I have them on my quick access toolbar, but I didn't want to use a quick access tool. I wanted to use the regular menus, but I quit using menus a long time ago because I get tired of it. Ooh, here's colors. I wonder what this is. Oh, this is setting up for defaults in themes, okay? And we're not doing that. What we do here is we have this stuff fonted based on its colors. Formula is probably not going to be it. Data. Okay, review and view. Interesting. My colors are right here. So this is where, like when I click on this, what you're going to see is you're going to see that brown color. And I've got to get, there's nothing highlighted here. This is a customized color. It's right there. See that? It's not a standard color. Oh yeah, it is. It's right there. It's a standard color. That's cool. If I move it to here, see that color changes. If I move it to there, it's that standard color. Kind of cool, right? Well, I want it to be no color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to take this, whoops, I'm going to spread it across here. I'm holding down my shift key, going all the way across, and I want to remove all that color. So now I'm going to come here and I'm going to say no color, no fill. Okay, really good. I don't know where that menu is. Somehow that should be, it's fill color. It doesn't like to tell me where the original menu is, but I'm sure it's somewhere up here. Oh, it's right here. Isn't that interesting? There it is right there. Why didn't I see that when I clicked here and highlighted the whole thing? You can highlight the whole document by highlighting here, and I go on home. Oh, there it is right there. What I'm going to do now is strip out and say no color, no fill on the whole page. Blammo, there we go. Now we're back to no color. So this is going to make it easy to print. The trouble is some of this stuff, like look, rehab items here, that ink needs to be black. Okay? And that's the problem, is that we changed the color of this white ink to black, but now we want all the ink everywhere to be black. So what I'm going to do is just highlight down here, and I'm going to come up here and go, okay, I want black ink. Another way I could do it is go to the home menu, come down here and pop this down and say, I want black ink, and blam. Now all of a sudden everything is black. Insert, and now I have black ink everywhere. Now, I don't want these columns over here, so I'm going to go ahead and hide these columns. I've now got them formatted to the right colors, so I'm going to hide those columns. I'm going to right click and look for hide. There it is right there. It's hidden in the middle. Bam, I just hid those. So now, if the contractor has different prices, a different total, I can put that there. I could choose to leave that off and just invite the contractor to write the amounts in here, and then I could total it by hand. In fact, I think I'm going to do it that way. So I'm just going to invite, I'm going to hide that as well, and I'm going to invite the contractor to just make changes. Just take my printout, line over it, and make changes. So evidently we do have some roof tear off here. That says yes, and we got it priced out at $1,763. And then we have new roof, yeah, and there it is, $88.18, and then therefore the total price is this. Now, soffit and fascia is broken out here. Then we have miscellaneous and miscellaneous. And frankly, I like the idea of what I'm going to do is, I noticed that this one here does not have a line underneath it, and I want to have a line underneath it. I want that miscellaneous to be programmed with a border around it. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to right click, and then I'm going to go into borders. I go into cell formats, and then I go into borders, and then I'm going to make sure that I don't mind the thick line being there, but I want the same line that's up here to be down here and down here. And notice there's a gray line right here. It's not very cool, so I'm just going to click that, and now we're putting that line in right there. I'm going to do that here. Whoops, I'm going to do that here. I'm also going to do that there, and I'm going to also do it here. So now all of the lines are standard, and bammo, there we go. And now there it is. Ooh, it's a little bit darker than the others, isn't it? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click here. I'm going to go into Format Cells. I'm going to Borders, and then I'm going to pick a smaller line, that guy right there. And I'm going to click here, here, here. I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to click there. So now I'm going to click OK, and now all the lines should be the same. Okay, and they are. Isn't that cool? I could have gone here and formatted this line all the way down by using a paintbrush, and that would do the same thing. Let me just show you that. I'm going to undo. So now I have these weird things. I'm going to undo again because now I have the original way that this thing was set up. So I'm going to come here, and I'm going to just grab my paintbrush, and I'm going to extend it down here and here, all the way over to here. And there we go. That should have fixed the problem. It didn't do it. Oh, it did it everywhere but underneath here. Isn't that interesting? So I'm going to take this, take my paintbrush, and put it there. Now that should solve the problem. It didn't want to solve the problem. So I'm going to take this and copy it here, and that should solve the problem. And it didn't solve the problem. So I'm going to have to solve this problem the same way I did before, and that is I'm going to go into this thing, and I'm going to say Borders, or I'm going to say Cell Formats, then I'm going to go to Border, then I'm going to click on that line right there, then I'm going to click on this line down here. And I'm going to go ahead and click everywhere so that it stays consistent. And by the way, I want this line as well. There we go. Blammo. And now I've got my lines. Okay, now the question is, does my roofing guy need more columns to put in more things here? I may even want to leave this blank with no zeros in it so that he can, or she, depending on who my contractor is, can put in more more numbers. By the way, what I did right there, I noticed that when I got down here, let me go to Escape. I have cell boundaries down here for some reason, and I would rather that these two cells right here, I'd rather that they had the same formatting that this cell does. So I'm going to copy that, Control C for copy, Shift right arrow, Control Victor, Control V for paste, and now I have, oh geez, it didn't want to do it. That's so funny. Oh, I see. It did do it. It eliminated the vertical lines. This one here, it says roll roofing for flat roof, $125 a square. You know, if my contractor wants to change that, they can do it. Okay. And so now, do I want another? Let's say that I do. Let's say that I want another row in here because I want my contractor to feel free. So what I'm going to do is put in another miscellaneous, and and notice how these numbers went out of whack when I added that row. But I'm going to go back and correct these numbers later, okay? Because I'm going to be doing a lot more adding and subtracting as we go. The other thing that I don't like here, you guys, is that it makes it a little bit hard to see sections. So one of the things we can do is I can come back over here and I can take this part and let's go ahead and make it a solid color, like a gray color. Oh, I just changed the, I didn't mean to change that font. But let's take this color right here and let's make it the background gray. So that makes it easier to see when in the printout. And let's go ahead and change this ink back to white. So now each section is going to have, it's going to be formatted that way. So let's take care of that right now, shall we? I'm going to double click the paintbrush, bam, bam. And then I'm just going to click on here. And because these two are highlighted, it's going to format the next two. Here we go, bam, bam, there we go. And now here's interior paint. There's a category. Here's landscaping. Cannot change part of a merged cell. All right, so what's happening here is that merged cell, that was merged, and so it didn't want to, in fact, I'm going to undo that and show you what's going on here. we had a merge cell there, but I'm trying to format this. And of course, this had, all these were merged across here. Do you see that? If I come down here, you can see the cell formations down here. As soon as I move up, the cell formation is gone, and it tells me E44. That means that, that this cell that I'm on is starting at column E instead of calling on F or G, you see. So I'm going to go ahead and take this cell, and I'm going to unmerge it by clicking on that merge button right there. The merge button, I think, is on the home page. No, it could be on, let's see if it's on insert. No, page layout. No, formulas. No, data. I wonder if I just missed it. Review and view. Here's where the merge cell is right here. Where'd it go? Oh, maybe I'm wrong. See, I'm so used to using my oh, wait, here we go. It's right here. Merge cell. It's on the home menu. So I want that on my quick access toolbar. So I'm going to right click on it, and then right here it says add to quick access toolbar. Well, of course, mine is gray because it's already been added. See, there it is right there. There's the merge cell. Okay, good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this, and when I click on that, it toggles the merging off and on. So now it's going to be good all the way across. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and go across up here. Going to grab this, and because this is the cells are not merged, now I'm going to hit double click my paintbrush, and now I'm going to go ahead and do that, and it'll format all the way across, and life is really good. Okay, there's windows. Here comes doors. By double clicking, it keeps the same formatting over and over again. If I single clicked, I'd only be able to do it once. By double clicking, I can do it over and over again. Here's HVAC. Here's my next. Here's the kitchen. Here's my next. Here's bathrooms. And there is flooring. And then here's miscellaneous. Whoops, I accidentally hit a button down here and it did something. So I'm going to undo what I just did. I'm going to hit escape. That turns off my paintbrush. I'm going to hit undo, and that's going to fix this problem right here. Okay, good. Now I'm going to go up and recapture that format. I'm going to left click there. I'm going to shift left click over here, and then I'm going to right arrow to go to the end. Then I'm going to double click on this paintbrush again, and now and we're going to come down here to miscellaneous, and it stayed. And then here's total permits, and then that's all. So now all my headings have that kind of formatting under here. Now all I need to do, I'm going to hit escape because see my paintbrush is still active. I hit escape, that turns it off. Now I'm going to go down through here and see if there's any other things that I want to do that I'm going to hand this to my contractor. So at this point, roofing removal, this is for the detached garage. Now if this property doesn't have a detached garage, you might as well delete it, right? Because we don't want to confuse the freaking contractor. So I'm going to delete the entire rows. Whammo. They are gone. And now, by the way, this stuff over here is just instructional stuff that I should have taken off so as not to be distracted a while ago. And if you want to, you can read through and get instructed on that. So see, it says insert information in yellow and orange. This is just instructional stuff. Okay, good. So now my exterior paint, wow, evidently there's no exterior paint required. Just for the hell of it, though, I'm going to remove all the zeros. Because, and then if my contractor wants to tell me what the what siding would be here per square foot, $3 per square foot is the amount that's indicated here. He can maybe change that because he knows it. If not, there we go. So exterior paint, we got exterior paint. We have siding. This should not be applicable but I'm going to leave it there, okay? Because who knows? Maybe the contractor will see some exterior paint issues on this house. Now here's interior paint, and DeAndre has this scoped out at 9 grand. And so I'm going to take everything where there's zeros and put it like that. Again, I don't like how these lines are weird. So what I can do is come back up here and grab this formatting. And I'm going to go ahead and grab that. And I'm going to come up here with this, grab my paintbrush, and I'm going to click on material right there and see it formatted the whole thing just perfectly. And so now that looks just like the above. And I think 2 miscellaneous is probably pretty good for interior paint. Here's my landscaping. I'm going to remove all these zeros. And DeAndre says there's about $1,000 in landscaping. And he says here are the unit prices, right? So this is the cost per square foot or linear foot price. And we're going to leave that in just in case the contractor wants to give us more information. It's not pertinent unless it's in this column right here, right? Unless it's in column H, this column right here. Okay, once again, I don't like this formatting that's off here. So I'm going to come back up here. I'm going to highlight this area. I'm going to take my paintbrush. I'm going to double click my paintbrush this time. I think I double clicked it. And I'm going to go ahead and click here. Yeah, I didn't double click it. I'm going to double click, bam, bam. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to go ahead and format every one of these sections, because that'll save me time in the long run by only having to click the paintbrush once. Interesting. This one is weird because it has a line between the two things. I'm going to go ahead and click here and see what it does. Okay, that looks pretty nice. And then here's, I'm going to look for the next one. I'm going to click here. Let's come back up here, see how that looks. Ooh, look, it didn't include lines down here. And so I'm going to finish what I'm doing with my paintbrush, however, because I don't want to be clicking paintbrushes over and over and over again. That actual formatting looked pretty good right there. This looks pretty good right here too, except that bottom line is a little darker. I don't mind the bottom line being darker, but now there we go. And where did I see it that I didn't like it? I'm looking for that. It's right here. So I'm going to remove my paintbrush. I just hit escape. I'm going to just try and copy this down here and see if that works. Yep, it worked. So by copying that cell down to here, all the formatting went with it, and now it's standardized and life is good. All right, good. So I'm going to hit Control Home to come back up to the top. I like the roofing. There's no detached garage. There's exterior paint. There's interior paint. There's the landscaping. There are the windows. See, we got new windows, 14 new windows. We're going to make sure that count is good. We're going to take out all these zeros because they aren't pertinent to this bid. And we're going to leave the unit pricing in just in case. And I have this student, in fact, that I'm working on this was just texted me saying that he sent me the thing. I'll just tell him I'm doing it now. And I'm almost done. Almost done. And okay, good. Window trim. We have 2 miscellaneous, so if the guy wants to add something there, we can. Now here's our doors. We have a blank line here, so the guy can add anything he wants. We have some unit prices here. $900 is a unit price indicator. And if he has some idea of why that's cheaper. Now, I don't know why there's $200 in that miscellaneous right there. So I'm going to delete it. And I think that what I'm going to do here is I'm going to highlight permit required now that I'm thinking about it. remind me to do that in a minute. In fact, let me just make a note of myself. I'm going to bring up a note here. I'm going to say permit required formatting. So I'm just going to put this off to the side. And I'm getting rid of these zeros right here is what I'm doing right now. All right, good. Let's come down here. Oop, there's a zero for some reason right there. Under material cost summary 0. And I notice I have material cost summary twice, so I think I'm going to leave it there. Because I have material cost summary down here. And that's pretty cool. I don't know why there's a empty space here and there, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that row, and that brings the rewire up in here. It just looks nicer to me. I have a few blank lines. Here's lighting, good. And then I'm going to come down here. Here's my air compressor, material cost summary, miscellaneous. That's very interesting. HVAC breakdown selection below. So this is for just replacing the whole thing. This is a breakdown selection below, and I think that's kind of hard to read. So I'm going to make that 12-point type. I'm going to make it 14-point type. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it some kind of a gray color. Why? Because I don't know. That's just because I can, right? So I'm just going to make it slightly gray. So it's not dark as gray as the others, but it's highlighted. And then I'm going to take away all these zeros. Again, I'm going to leave the unit pricing in there in case the contractor wants to let me know that my unit pricing is screwed up. And then I'm going to take out all these zeros. So we're replumbing this house for, now wait a minute. Oh, I see. Okay, so all of this total cost is right there under that section, and that covers the $5,000, the $3,000 to replumb the house, and the water heater for $800. Sounds really good. All right, great. And then we're coming down here. I don't know why there's a material cost summary twice in the kitchen either. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this. And then so this is for relocating the water. This is for relocating the gas. So there's two different kinds of demo here. I think what I'm going to do is, just so the contractor can see this, I'm going to make these the same. I'm going to flush them right. Okay. And there's the appliances. And we have $7,000 for a complete kitchen. Good. I'm taking out the zeros. What happened right there, you guys, was there's a merge right there. You see that? Because this cell right here is merged. I'm going to colorate it for you so you can see it. I'm going to fill it. That thing is all one cell. It's in a merge basis. See, if I'm here, I'm in E117, right? There's column E117. If I try to move down, it goes over to D118. So it goes to column D, and it goes all the way over here to column H. Well, I don't want that. So I'm now on that cell, and I'm going to unmerge it. I hit the merge button, and now it breaks it out individual things. And I don't want it colored anymore. So I'm going to go back and uncolor it by taking my coloration and saying no color, no fill. There we go. Oops, I want borders though. So I think what I'm going to do is just take this whole section here, and I'm going to put new borders on it. So I'm going to right click, say format cells, right click, format cells, go back to borders. And then I'm going to take these lines here. These are the ones I like. I'm going to bump them everywhere here. There, there, It looks like it's already here. There we go, and there. Now, the heavier line here on the side, we haven't done that. So we're going to just ignore that for now. I think I'll go ahead and put a heavier line in there. We'll use that one right there. And I'll put it right there. Okay. Then I'll say OK. There we go. And now life is good. Let me just see what I do here and say, yeah, that's about the same size of line. It could be the thinner bow line, but that's okay. All right, so now I have this all set up. For some reason, I have material cost summary. I have an extra row right there, so I'm going to go ahead and delete the row. So now I have material cost summary, miscellaneous, miscellaneous. Same all the way down here. I want to delete zeros though, and I forgot to do that up here. So here we go. 0. Shift down arrow allows me to highlight more than one at a time. Shift down arrow. And in fact, I could do that much faster by using Control Shift down arrow. I'll do that here. From right here, I hold down Control and Shift, and if I hit down arrow, it will go right to the bottom very quickly. Control Shift down arrow, bam. Control Shift down arrow, I want all those gone. And I want all of these gone. Control Shift down arrow. And here we go. I didn't Control Shift, I just held down the Shift and used my arrow keys to highlight all that. And I'm going to Control Shift down arrow. Bam, I took care of those. Control Shift down arrow, I took care of those. Okay. Shift down arrow, Shift down arrow, Shift down arrow. Because this is going to the bottom now, I can go Control Shift down arrow and I go all the way to the bottom. And I want to delete those. And there's no reason why that $1,000 is in there for miscellaneous. It's just left over from some other job. And now we can get rid of these with the Shift down arrow, Control Shift down arrow, Control Shift down arrow. Good. Now these refinances are automatically, these reference issues here, they're not working because that value right there got taken away. So looking up at the formula bar. So what I'm going to do is delete that. And all the rest are good. So that goes away. That becomes 0, which I'm going to delete, by the way. And I think I can go ahead and delete all this stuff here too. Okay, now the only thing I want to do is make sure my pagination is good. Let's see if this has any value. See, that won't print right now. Location, location. Okay, this is helping you with your majors, right? Evaluating curb appeal and giving points. So if you have properties to compare, you can compare your properties. But I'm going to eliminate that from the view. I'm in print. I'm in page break view right here. That allows me to drag these blue lines around. And now what I'm going to do is start at the top, and I'm going to examine. I did Control Home. And now I'm going to examine and make sure that my formatting is okay and my page breaks are good. Okay, my formatting seems to be pretty good here. I got page break going at Windows right there. Let's see if I actually want that. We're going to go to Page Layout, Page Breakout, Remove Page. I clicked right underneath where it is, and look, the page break would occur naturally right there. Isn't that interesting? And then I'm going to come down here, find the next page break, and I'm going to go ahead and now I can, as long as I put my cursor right underneath that blue line, then it'll either insert or remove a page break. So page layout, page breaks, remove. And if you don't have your thing in the right place, if you don't have your cursor in the right cell, you won't see a remove. But look, that now put the dotted line below right here. And I don't want that. I like that line being above there, so I'm going to go restore. I hit Control Z to restore, so that blue line is there instead of being down here. Now we have a page 3. I don't know that I like that being there. Let's go ahead and remove that page break. Page layout is where I go to get that. I have a different command that I use. I use an Alt-B. Shall I use that for you? So I'm clicking right here. I'm clicked right there on A121 because there's a line break at 22. So I'm going to use Alt-B. Didn't do it. Alt. I think it's Alt-B. No. Function B. No. Is it Control? Control. Oh, it's Alt-IB. It's Alt-IB. There we go. Okay, good. All right, now that, let me undo. Ooh. So now we have a page break here and a page break here, and page 4 is really little. So by undoing this page here, Alt-IB, that's the quick key for it. Alt-I for insert, B for break. It toggles it on or off. And I can come up here and I can do the same thing again, Alt-IB. It turns off that page break. Now the default page break is down here. See that? So I'm going to come up here to the top of this. I'm going to go Alt-IB and I'm going to insert a page break right there. So life is good. I've got a page break right here in the middle of nowhere. I'm going to Alt-IB and get rid of that. And notice that it wants to set up down here. That's cool. I'd rather it were right at the top of flooring. So what I can do is I can just delete this row because there's an extra row there and life is good. And now there's a page break right at flooring. That's cool. And miscellaneous, and there we go. So now if I go into page preview, print preview, Control P, I can now take a look, and it's not going to show all my borders, but it's going to show my page breaks really, really well. So I'm going to go page down. I'm going to click over here on there. That page is looking good. I click again. That page is looking good. That page is looking good. Every one of these pages is ending with permit required. Okay, and that's looking good. So I like my page breaks. Now, one thing I said, and I wrote myself a little note because I wanted to permit required. I wanted that to be formatted. And now there's a couple ways to do this. If I don't have color ink on my printer, then I could use this gray thing again because I think that would be really good. I can go up here and say, okay, paint that gray. I want to see permit required. I want to make sure that is handled. I want to know about if there are any permits required for this. And I'm going to talk to 2 or 3 contractors and see, get multiple opinions. And then I might even take this rehab cost analyzer into the city or to the building planning commission, to the building department and say, hey, if I were to do a repair like this on a property, you don't tell them what property it is, would I need a repair? Would I need a permit for this kind of repair? And you want to go back in and talk to 2 or 3 different people at the city because some people will say yes and some people will say no. And you want to, if they do say no, you want to find out what the law is to make sure that that person is not crazy. But some people will say yes, even though you don't need a permit, okay? So that's cool. Now what I want to do is remind myself about this. And I don't mind the dark gray, but I think that I am able to print color on my printer. Maybe the way to do it is to have a clear background. So I'm going to come up here to my background painter and say no fill. And then what I maybe want to do is make it red ink. So now permit required is in red ink. And I think that might be cool. I'm going to double click my paintbrush. And now I'm going to come down this page and everywhere that is permit required is going to be red. I think that's important. I do not want to be caught by surprise by having completed work that does not, that requires a permit and all of a sudden I've got to take off sheetrock or do some crazy thing in order to get that permit done. The city gets mad and says, well, you have to go back to where you were, and they sometimes they'll make you do things that you don't have to do just because you didn't get the silly permit in the first place. So there we go. All right, so I have just set this up for printing for my contractor. And I believe that that concludes the end of this video training. Now, if you, for some reason, have a question or comment, please send it to me, and I'll be glad to do this. What I'm going to do now, I have this saved. It says book 1, and I should have done this first off. As soon as I saved it, I should have come out here, and I should have said the name, and I should have said Rehab Cost Analyzer. And I happen to know this is for the Noreen property. And And so that looks pretty good to me. So I'm going to save that in my work folder, and I'm going to send that to, I'm going to send that right now to the investor client. And thank you for listening. Please send your comments and questions.